I have my notes in front of me.
Same.
Here we go. Welcome to another edition of Command Control Power. I've got my co-host here, Joe Saponari, and Sam Valencia is missing in action today, but hopefully we'll be able to carry the torch and get us through this public episode.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our very best. So I recently, Joe, I'm going to launch right into it. I recently came
Please.
across, it really wasn't an article. I find myself using AI just about every single day.
Mm.
And so as I was putting this show together or trying to put this show together, I was kind of a little empty on topics. So I just threw it to AI.
Hmm.
And AI came up with this great discussion topic, which is cloud only thinking, why it's beginning to crack or starting to crack. And I've got a number of talking points.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so the first one that kind of kicks us off is cost predictability has been broken. So I'll just throw these out there and then we can discuss them. And
Okay.
the bulleted point here is cloud was sold as cheaper and simpler. That's
Mhm.
no longer true. Usage-based pricing is difficult to forecast. AI, storage egress, and premium features stack quietly. Not actually sure what that
So-
means. AI,
Def-
storage egress means
oh,
getting
okay.
off,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And bills now fluctuate based on behavior, not planning. So
Hmm.
I've noticed this myself with I for a long time was backing up my personal family files to from my Synology, which
Yeah.
is my primary repository of data. I was using Backblaze B2 and it
Yeah.
just got to be too expensive. And I stopped doing it and I've
Mhm.
connected a local backup.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's one small example. But are you
Yeah.
dealing with that as well, where clients are faced with these increasing storage backup bills?
It's a good question. I mean, we covered this on a show a while back. Well, there are a few times, obviously, over the years, but cloud file storage versus on-premises server. And that's one comparison. Then of course we talked about the cloud-free life, the clear skies client, like
Hmm.
no cloud for me, thank you kind of thing. So it is interesting to come at it from this angle too, in terms of, as you put it, or as AI put it, and then you repeated, forecasting forecasting the cloudiness of those days, because it used to be that pricing was more predictable. I mean, that's my takeaway from that discussion point. And that matches my experience. It seems like for a
That's
while,
right.
when vendors were switching from, like perpetual licensing or buy the version once, and then maybe there's an upgrade price later, and that later could be 3-4 years down the road or longer for some clients. When we were switching to cloud first and also going through the subscription pricing, um, I think vendors were more inclined to keep it predictable because they didn't want it to be like a bait and switch or a moving target. Now that everything is sort of subscription first and cloud first, they're treating the pricing as more of a variable. Where, hey, you know what? Anytime we have the cover of inflation, or sure, we have real costs going up in terms of data centers requiring more power and things, and pricing going up probably on their side. Yeah, they're raising prices without really thinking twice, because hey, what are you going to do? You're going to, as AI put it, egress your data out of the cloud and put it back into on-premises, servers. I mean, they know most people aren't going to do that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Google, even on a personal level, was one of the first to walk this back. Do you remember when you could sign up for photo backup and it was unlimited photos? You could back up to them. And
Sure.
now they've put caps on all this data. So the final
Yeah.
talking point here is it says opinion. CFOs don't hate the cloud; they hate unbound cost models.
Okay.
Cloud only removes financial control.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a great point. You can't kick the can down the road like a lot of our clients do year after year, when the server is kind of like, chugging along and just maybe like starting to show its age, and they say, well, maybe next year we can upgrade, and they can keep deferring that cost. They have a little more control. Whereas the cloud, if your vendor increases the price, we've talked about this before. What's your option? You're going to hire one of us to deal with a massive data migration and retraining of staff, and making sure things end up in the right place with the right permissions. I mean, it's not necessarily a trivial thing for some clients that have a few people, or maybe in the worst case, we've seen clients sharing a Dropbox account, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe that's a little bit easier, but that's also more predictable, and they're less inclined to, like jump ship if the price goes up a little in that 1 to 3 user range. But yeah, if you have a big company, you've got 10, 20, 50 people, every time it goes up by, $5 a month per user, that really adds up. And so, yeah, it's AI has some good points there. It seems like.
The second talking point they brought up was that AI exposed the data problem. And basically, AI accelerated something that was already uncomfortable. Prompts can contain proprietary, legal, and regulated data. Enterprise does not always mean not retained. And
Sure.
the moment AI entered the picture, blind trust in cloud platforms stopped being reasonable.
I like how AI is now criticizing itself, and how can we really rely on it to be a reliable witness here? Hey, like, don't trust me. I'm next thing you know, I'm going to raise the price, and I might be keeping your data too. Yeah, it's good points, but I would give you a counterpoint to that. In defense of AI, of course, now we have more clients who are. I mean, let's say you're running a Carrier mail server, like I once did in my office, right?
Okay.
I'm not benefiting from the integration of, say, Google Gemini on a Google Workspace, hosted email service, or Copilot in Microsoft 365. Now, I mean, some people might say, yeah, that's the point. I don't want that stuff.
Right.
Other clients, I'm hearing anecdotally, they're saying, can we use Outlook? Because, they've always used the mail app. It's, first party, it's native, it's built in, it's easy. And they've kind of outgrown it. And in the meantime, there's other reasons, but basically we've been recommending Outlook, and they were saying to us, we want better integration with Copilot. We want to be able to use Copilot built into, I don't know if it's giving us answers to, issues that are coming up in email, like, hey, where's this order, or whatever, or just being able to like compose an email, or summarize an email, or word this better, like, you've used to great effect. Like, here's what I really want to say, but I don't want to say that. Can you word it better? So all those things are better integrated, and they're coming to us now to ask us, hey, can we use Outlook? And we say, of course, yeah, that's actually, what we've been wanting to lead you toward. And one of the benefits is this integration. Of course, it's optional. I mean, of course, they, keep wanting to opt people in or really encourage you. I've got a whole topic on that where you open these apps up and they're like, oh my God, did you notice in the corner over here we have a new button? And you're like, why is this not working? And it's like, oh, there's a little tutorial that they insisted on showing me. And of course, they're going to probably, if you've got it turned off at some point in the future, they're going to say, are you sure you don't want to turn Copilot on? So they do try to like really work this in. But again, the point is that some people actually want that integration. You really can't have that integration, even as an option that you may want in the future, if you're using an on-premises, email server, or like you're describing a Synology in an office. I mean, you're not benefiting from, say, in Dropbox. If they do start to integrate more features, like help me find the file I want, you're just doing basic search in the Finder, on a Synology. I mean, maybe they're going to add AI stuff, but I really doubt that they can do anything on device, right, with the Synology. So you're kind of lacking those options if you insist on.
True. But the point is data. Data is the problem, the exposure to data. So you've got an employee, they're using, like you say, Outlook with the integration. And before they send the summary email to the CFO, they say to AI, analyze these fourth quarter results
Right.
and give me a good synopsis of things that we should consider for this next quarter. And all of a sudden, you've just uploaded your fourth quarter results even before they were pre-announced to the cloud. That becomes a huge problem.
That's a great point. It might have been Benjamin Morales in a previous show who brought this topic up, and I know he's had a lot to say in the past about this. And he chimes in here with, he says, "I have almost no patience left for AI. Ethically, environmentally, and technically, AI is indefensible at this point." So he's really not mincing words. He says, "I don't care if I sound like a Luddite anymore. It causes more harm than good." So thanks for the feedback. Big supporter of the show, Benjamin Morales. Yeah, it's a very valid point. I'm sort of torn on this whole thing because I mean I've talked about the systemic risk, existential risk potentially of some of these of the real. It's a philosophical problem at this point, but it's becoming easier and easier to see how we could be really shooting ourselves in the foot as a civilization, to put our trust in AI. And not to mention, in the meantime, I think these are the points that Benjamin's bringing up. I mean, just the amount of like water usage to cool the data centers, power usage to power the data centers, of course, constraints on RAM and GPUs and things have gone up and down over the years as these systems are built out. Are we sure that we want to be allocating so much power, so much water, which, by the way, humans need to live, right? And so much, so much of our like resources in terms of chips and things like that. Do we want to invest all of this on this massive bet on AI, and in the meantime be, potentially like, just creating environmental harm through like these email summaries? I mean, at a very basic level, is it
Yeah.
worth it?
I mean, I can empathize with his thoughts, but I think for most people, the genie's already out of the bottle.
Yeah.
And, and when we talk about AI, of course, that's just a marketing term. We're talking about large language models. And, they can potentially run locally. They can run off of any major cloud platform provider.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's becoming pervasive. I mean, with Benjamin listening and other people who are in support of that theory, it's embarrassing because, I use ChatGPT all day long for
Sure.
my business.
Yeah.
And it's become a real important part to my business. I'm happy to pay the $20 a month
Right.
subscription model. But at the same time, I can see, like I say, I can see all the points that he brings up and why it's has such an impact on our environment, on our
Yeah.
we're so resource constrained, like you said, with our computing technology. Western Digital has sold out for the year on their drives. Supposedly, they
Wow.
have no more stock. So it's quite interesting world we're in at the moment in
Yeah.
regards
I,
to these LLMs.
I think you're right. I mean, it reminds me of other problems we've dealt with, as a society. It's sort of like, I don't know if you'd call it a collective action problem, but it's sort of like, each one of us using this technology is such a drop in the bucket that I wonder if it really does move the needle. I mean, if I were to take a big stand, best case scenario, send a blast to all of my clients, have policies in place where I actively, disengage these systems, turn off Copilot across the board in all the instances of Microsoft 365, Gemini, ban ChatGPT unless a client makes a good case for it. Ban it in my own company among my very small staff. Maybe even to promote it to my colleagues, like, hey, I think you should all do the same. Let's all ban AI. Like default is opt. It's a, I always mix these up. It's an opt-in kind of scenario. Like the default is we block everything and you have to choose. You have to actually contact us and then we'll enable it for your organization if you ask, right? Or if you make a case for it or something like that. So in a best case scenario like that, I may affect a few dozen businesses comprising, at best a few hundred individuals. That's a best case scenario if I have just a ban across the board. But we're talking about millions tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users probably on a regular basis. I don't know that my own small little, like I'm not making a dent in that universe by taking even that strong of a stand against AI. And so it's here. Like, if I had a vote, I would probably vote for like slowing down and not building out new data centers. Um, However, I don't have a vote. All I can do is vote with my usage and whether I choose to pay for these services or not and vote with my dollars. I think it's sort of like inevitable. I mean, like you said, the genie is out of the bottle. Like what can we do at this point? You know?
Right. I mean, some could make the argument that it's the introduction to the automobile, and you would take the position you still want to support the horse and buggy vendors that are out there,
Yeah.
and not really get close to the auto at all, or
Right.
support
Yeah.
your clients who drive one. So.
Yeah, I mean it's true. And again, like the word luddite comes to mind because it's the famous story, right, of just like automation in factories versus like, hey, what about our jobs? That's the other big aspect is,
Hmm.
there are lots of jobs. I'm really truly looking at this as like I can't see farther than a year or two into the future. I mean, we could maybe project 2 years and say, like, technically speaking, AI could do 80% of my job right now. Like, probably. Like if somebody really worked at like automating me, turning
Hmm.
me into AI, like my whole organization, um, you know, clients could maybe get 80% of their problems solved, and maybe like 80% of those interactions could happen with AI today. Maybe in 2 years, that's 95%. I mean, at some point, like, either I'll be silly not to integrate AI. This is the like pro AI accelerationist kind of case. And furthermore, like my I might be out of a job because my business model is this sort of boutique consultancy, is supporting individuals with at a premium rate, frankly, like
Hmm.
hourly
Sure.
rate.
You and me
As soon as
both.
we Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we had 10 times the competition, because now you can support 10 times the number of people with a tenth of the staff, right? Like, let's say there's a competitor out there who's exactly like me but just goes all in on AI. And with AI, they can have the same size company as me, a couple of people on staff, and leveraging AI to that great a degree, they could support 10 times the number of clients. Therefore, they could probably also like lower the price because they have a certain economy of scale that works in
Hmm.
the favor of like lowering pricing. And for that matter, that's the point, is they want to undercut the existing and consultancies out there and get more clients out of the deal, and they want to like own the market, right? So there's competitors that can come in, charge a lot less, and start to siphon off clients. And so how do we still justify the high rate?
Exactly. And to riff off that, a competitor could be a PC competitor, and they've always kind of kept maybe an arm's length away from the Mac because it just felt different to them. And if you work on both platforms, they're not similar, but they're just
Close
as
enough.
easier. Yeah, close enough. And now with large LLM, they don't need to be skilled. They don't need to be a
Right.
technical partner with Apple. They can just
Exactly.
look it up, and nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, it'll probably help them solve that person's problem that's on a Mac. So you're right. This is certainly going to lower the bar, I guess, for other people to enter the market. All right, let's
Great.
move on.
Yeah.
Latency and we don't have to go deep on each one of these. So here's another one. Latency and dependency matter again. So for years, latency was
Interesting.
ignored because it was
Hmm.
good enough. Real-time tools like AI voice collaboration expose delays. Internet
Hmm.
outages now halt entire workflows. Look at how many people use what's the workflow app? That's tip of my tongue here.
The
Um,
workflow app.
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
keep
shoot.
going here.
Okay.
Local execution feels faster even on modest hardware. So the cloud isn't as fast. The cloud's fast until it isn't, and then everything stops.
This sounds like AI wrote this. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point too, just to riff off of that. I mean, so it depends on like what your processing? Like, I mean, like local executing what? So, I mean, I made this case, like I had a client who has an old Synology server. It was installed 7, 8 years ago or something. I don't know. It's ready to be, getting to be due for replacement. We've been actually having this conversation for over a year.
Hmm.
And we said, hey, you've got like, you're only in the office like 4 days a week anyway. You work remotely another, like on usually on Fridays. You stand to spend this much money on, here's the hardware, Synology box, the drives, the RAM, whatever, our time to configure it. And okay, so that's all like the cost of the on-premises replacement. Compare that to going into the cloud, Dropbox, let's say. I mean, I've had tons of
Hmm.
experience with that. There are other options out there. And I said, you would basically pay this amount per user. You have fewer users now. So that's what makes this also compelling. Based on the size of the data and the number of users, et cetera. Like you'd basically like, it's very compelling. It's not like in some cases you make this argument and the hardware would pay for itself in like 2 or 3 years. And so if you get 5, 6 years out of it, maybe you include maintenance in that and it changes the equation. But basically, versus paying Dropbox every single month for whatever number of users,
Hmm.
sometimes the on-premises server is the cheaper option. In this case, it's kind of a wash. And the client said, well, we want it to be as fast as possible. So we want the server in on premises. And I said, well, the way Dropbox works is you would have your active, folders synced to each
Hmm.
machine. So actually it ends up being faster in practice because it's all local. You're working off of an SSD inside your Mac. It's really, really fast compared to even like accessing files on a network. So it just, again, it depends. Now, then again, if you have a video editing workflow, I think, that's a real argument for an on-premises server. That's a, different sort of structure.
Right. But um, Rocket Rocket Matters, I think, is the legal platform that some attorneys
Mm-hmm.
use. That's web based. Um, Salesforce. I think it's talking specifically about those types of models. So you're
Okay.
right. Dropbox would be faster than a local on-prem Synology server if you're just doing an SMB Connect. Um, but I think they're an edge case. Not all technologies work like Dropbox. Uh,
Yeah.
control has drifted away from customers. Cloud only means vendors decide when features change, vendors decide when pricing changes, vendor decides when tools are deprecated. Admins and consultants are left explaining decisions they didn't make.
Okay. That's a
Yeah.
very good point. Yeah. I think that's well said.
Organizations are realizing they don't actually own critical infrastructure anymore, they rent it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what are
I
you going
mean,
to do? If you
I,
use
I agree.
Salesforce, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't,
Yeah.
you'd have to hire somebody to write your own
Yeah.
database to do what you need to do that you would typically do with Salesforce.
Right. And then maintain it, so you're also, it's like, okay, you're not renting a solution that's off the shelf or customized for you that's, rented from a cloud service provider, i.e. Salesforce. You're hiring a developer to customize a solution like say FileMaker or whatever that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
host locally, and that needs to be maintained. You need to have it updated regularly. You need to migrate it to the new version when that comes out. What about access for mobile devices? You need to create a version for that, and what you need a new feature. Well, it's not just going to appear. Your developer is going to need to integrate this new feature for you. So, like you're not renting the solution, but you are paying a developer on a very regular basis. Maybe it's once a year. I maintain a FileMaker server for a client. These are the things we have to do. We have to update it. We have to sometimes fix bugs when, like we went through a big migration when they had a legacy, version of FileMaker and they needed to
Mm-hmm.
really get current. So that happened once in 15 years or something like that. But it does happen, and so yeah, you're not renting every month, through a developer, but I'm sure you could actually hire a developer who's going to sell you your FileMaker licenses and you like maintain the database that's hosted locally, and maybe add features once in a while for a set monthly fee. So you could rent from a developer if you wanted to, an on-premises
Mm-hmm.
solution. Rent meaning like, pay on an ongoing basis for the use of the thing. So
Yeah.
what's the difference? That's my argument, really, in that case.
By the way, not to digress, but I also maintain a FileMaker server, not the current version. And one of the things that needs to be done, as you know, Joe, is you have to renew the SSL certificate, especially if they're accessing it from outside of the organization. And have you ever done that? It's the most complicated way to renew an SSL that I've ever seen in my life, and it's all terminal. I mean, it's not
I feel
a
like
problem
I've
for
done
us.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
It's been a while
extremely
though.
convoluted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
Interesting.
need to
Huh.
you need to hire someone to do that for you. And you would think with
Right.
most cases, it could be user directed, but in this case, not.
Right. All right, I've got to highlight Benjamin's feedback here,
Okay,
real-time
please do.
feedback on this, because as I'm, again, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here when I say, like, hey, what can we do? Like, we need to, like, you need to either hire someone to maintain the data in your facility, or you need to, like, hire a cloud provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do? Well, we don't have to live with this reality of like cloud first, subscription first. We don't have to do that. We have the option of, again, like you're describing, forget about Salesforce, use FileMaker. Okay. I'm just saying that it's not without like cost in terms of, again, ongoing maintenance that now you are responsible for. So I agree with what AI said earlier. um, we're not in control, right? The vendor can deprecate a feature, it can stop supporting an old version and force you to upgrade all your hardware. They can, their systems can just be down, right? So now, as AI said, we as the consultants are left explaining a decision that we didn't make. Well, I think they want to make sure it's as secure as possible, and their development team remains as nimble as possible to keep your prices low. Like, I'm defending the cloud provider. I guess my point, yeah, that's not a great situation, but at the same time, like when the on-premises server goes down, yeah, we're empowered to fix it, but it's our fault. Maybe it's our fault that it went down. It's our responsibility to fix it. So yes, we're empowered to be able to, we have more options to
Yeah,
choose when to upgrade and when to add features and things, but
it's not like
so yeah.
having something like Cloudflare go down and a major backbone of the internet fails, and then everybody's out of business for a while with their email or whatever
Yeah.
services they're using.
But
AWS.
again,
Yeah.
right. AWS goes down. You see that impact. Same, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, Cloudflare, all of these big, there are, the internet was designed to be resilient. It's designed to be kind of open source in a way. It's like, it like these are open standards, right? But in practical terms, we rely on very specific, a few very big, very specific companies. And when they go down, it doesn't matter about, well, the internet can route around, an outage or whatever. Not if Amazon's down. Like if you're relying on
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Web Services and their data centers offline, or they're routing traffic incorrectly, it's so in practical terms, we're kind of past the point of like, I don't know. I mean, unless you're just hosting like a standard HTML website, and it's as basic as it can be, like we're relying on a lot of these big companies, and when they're down, you're down to a large degree. Um, yeah.
All right. These 2 points seem to go hand in hand. Hybrid is proving to be the practical middle ground. We're seeing a quiet on-prem for sensitive data, AI inference, and core workflows like FileMaker, smaller, smarter local systems instead of giant servers. So hybrid isn't a compromise, it's a correction. And the thing that, again, this is a part of the vendors don't emphasize that you've got Apple Silicon, you've got ARM, you've got a Mac Mini now can run stay on 24/7 very quietly. Hardware was weak. The assumption is no longer true. What do you think?
Yeah, that's
All right. I don't expect
well,
them just.
it's reminding me of if these things go down and then you're kicking yourself because you wish you had an on-premises server. It's on a hard drive, it's on a physical NAS or box. But like, what's your workflow for that? Because it is down, and you have remote employees now. You're dealing with version management issues and things. I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't always fail over to like, well, hey, you're smugly laughing at everyone else because they're offline because the internet's down, and you're just, nothing changes. Things probably change in your workflow no matter what.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's yeah, it's not as cut and dry. I think like in some cases, cloud hosted solutions are easier and more reliable, and other times maybe an on-premises server. And again, it depends on if you're talking about a database or file sharing or email.
Right.
Um,
Compliance and risk are no longer abstract. Regulatory pressure is increasing. Data residency, client confidentiality, industry specific retention rules. Auditors don't accept. The vendor says it's fine. So risk management is pulling workloads back, not performance. That's a great point as well.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, when you're talking about data, you know, you have to be really clear about what the contract says, and also like what's the recourse if they say like we're not retaining your data and we're not sharing your data, but whoopsie daisy, like we accidentally leaked your data because of the example somebody brought up on the show a while back about if you like similar to what you alluded to earlier, if there's a like some proprietary info that you're asking AI about, and that's the only point of reference that this large language model has about this particular data because it's proprietary to you,
Mm-hmm.
it means it's more likely to spit out in the answer to someone else if that sort of data is shared in that. Is there a real firewall against that happening? I don't know. I don't know if anyone can guarantee that.
I don't think you want to put together a nice presentation in an email that you're sending you. Just feed it of what you're giving this person, and then all of a
Right.
sudden it's just out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone else asks a question like, "What what's the average salary and compensation package for someone in the worldwide talent relations for a company that, I mean, whatever, for like a producer. I have 2 points of reference. Like you're going to get an answer that's like highly informed by like what this other guy said,
Yeah.
I
Very
guess.
specific.
In
Yeah.
theory, I don't know that they're real, but also at this point, I'm skeptical. I'm not saying like, that we know if this is a real practical concern. Came like such joints like, hey, what if the internet's down? What about you're trusting this company? It's to get behind these options. And so similarly, well, look what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
These are just concerns, and that's our job is to bring those real concerns in. But in this case, again, like for me, it's theoretical. I haven't seen a lot of real world examples of data being
Right.
exfiltrated by AI models.
I think I still don't put my tax returns on Dropbox, so they're not in any. They might be on Backblaze,
Mm-hmm.
the folder that I have them in, but I don't have it on a shared Dropbox
Mm-hmm.
location. So in closing, it says this is our strong close. Cloud only thinking cracked because it assumed infinite trust, infinite connectivity, and infinite budgets. None of these assumptions hold anymore. So
It's a simplistic way of looking at it, I think, but yeah, I mean, it's food for thought. It's always good to, I think every 6 months at this point, we should probably check in about, just where and when, and
yeah,
AI.
what have our opinions changed? Our model is on a day-to-day basis. Are you?
Very little. I have a whole topic we can talk about on the Patreon show coming up. But I've used it for specific projects. Like I really am not, in the same way that I think sad. It's just so bad that I just can't even. It doesn't even make sense to talk about anymore. But I wish it was better because I wish I could use my on device models more. Like
Mhm.
I would use if it was more reliable. I could give it another try for things like that. I'm sure it's a little better. But I just know like even
Don't
asking
get your
questions
hopes
of
up.
the lady in the phone, if I'm asking questions, it's trying to get started on that. But for my day-to-day work, I'm not using AI in general. What I'm using
Mhm.
it for is like when I have a specific project, like help me think this through, help me with the branding of this new copy for my website. And I'm not just like copying and pasting. I'm using it as like a draft basically, and it's been really good for stuff like that. It just I get in and I get out. That's kind of how I use it.
Mm.
So I'm not against it. And I'm actually trying to find ways to use it more so I can be comfortable with this technology that I'm supporting.
Where it shines for me is in my client correspondence, where
Mhm.
I just recently did this, and I'm in the middle of a 2-person migration from an IMAP server to Microsoft. And
Mhm.
I gave very, very clear, direct instructions. The client went off the rails, signed up for Microsoft Office Standard, and I told them,
Mhm.
here's this is, you just want to sign up for Exchange, uh,
Yeah.
and and it just kept on coming back to me, and it's like one of those times where it's like, well, geez, um, how do I voice this in an encouraging and guiding way that doesn't reflect any of my own frustration? And so I just
Mhm.
do a mind dump into Chat GPT, and like
Yeah.
write an email to John Smith and tell him that, no, please, I told you in the previous email you were supposed to do it this way, and here are
Right.
the steps. I need you to send me, send this information to me, but text
Mhm.
it to me. Here's the text number. We need to get moving on this, because it was like time sensitive, and I
Right.
just do those dumps like that, and all of a sudden, without too much fuss or muss,
Sure.
I get this beautifully crafted email which gently goes at it again, and just sort of, I gracefully
Yep.
move through these challenging moments
Yep.
where I know that I'm frustrated.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great use for it. I think that was like one of the early examples that people found a lot of benefit from, and it's still is. It's a great use for it, versus struggling and writing it ourselves. And yeah,
Mhm.
I use. I mean, a lot of times when a client has a question for me, I'm Googling it. Big secret. And we've said in the past, never let them see you Google, right? So it's luckily I'm usually remote, or maybe I'm responding to an email, and it's not that I don't know the answer. It's that I don't have the steps memorized
Mhm.
exactly. So
Sure.
usually I'm looking for Apple's article if it's like an Apple process or whatever. But often, if, of course, the first result is Google's little AI, mode at the top there.
Mhm.
Not the same as Gemini, but it's like a quick AI overview. By the way, this is another example where you're really swimming against the current if you're like trying to avoid AI, because it's just there. All I meant to do was Google something,
Mhm.
which by the way uses some power and energy to do that, right? To maintain their database and spit out an answer. But now they've tacked on AI at the top. So every time I do just whatever little query, it's giving me an AI generated response.
Mhm.
I will say I'm often copying and pasting that, and then, paste and match style. And then I do, and I refine
Sure.
it and format it and I test it. And I usually check it, but, unless I just know that that's the right thing from memory. But the point is, like, it's very useful just to also like have the prepared answer in a decent format and be able to respond to a client with that, versus
Mhm.
again finding all the original sources and going back to the source.
Yeah. I also think that a lot of people who would be pinging us, regular clients, new clients, are taking this path where they're trying to self-solve
Yeah.
with greater success, because it used to be we would have the chops to figure out what the correct search term would be, and then
Right.
we would be able to look through that first page or second page of Google and go like, no, 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 this is an
Yep.
advertisement, this is blah blah blah, here's the
Exactly.
one. It's like
Right.
7 downs, this is the one we want to click on, and then you'd look at it and it's probably the answer you wanted. And now these people can just like feed the question
Right.
into any one of these free models
Yep.
and get pretty close. So I think, at least on the short term, we're going to see less business, less
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of clients will come to me with a question and say, well, ChatGPT said do this, and then they'll present that to me like
oh wow.
they've looked into it. They've done
Hmm.
I mean, it used to be like you hope that they say, and I tried restarting already. Now they're like, and I Googled it or I ChatGPT'd it. And so yeah, they're looking to those places for a solution. Of course, Apple promised like a year and a half ago now, or almost 2 years, that it would have like knowledge of device functionality. Like you'd be able to, like I'm on the phone, and I want to like I have a bunch of photos I want to share. How do I do that? I'm not gonna like put my phone down and go Google it or something. I'm just gonna ask the lady in the phone and say, how do I share a bunch of photos? And it would not only know the answer, which you'd hope it
Mm-hmm.
would get that right, but it could guide you on screen.
Hmm.
So, that's what they said it would do at some
Right.
point, and so like at some point that I'm sure they will be able, maybe this WWDC, they'll have this big Google, integration where they'll, where it'll be able to do that finally. And let's say it can just do that with all these questions, hey, why don't I see my calendar? I mean, what are the things we get? I actually want to use AI to analyze all the questions I've gotten over the last, 20 something years. Like, what are my most common questions from the last 5 to 10 years, like for
Mm-hmm.
residential clients and for businesses? For residential clients, it's probably something like, I'm out of space. What do I do? Um, if my calendar, something's not syncing, whatever, So if they just ask the phone itself, like, hey, my calendar's not syncing, right? If it was really smart, which it could, I can already imagine how it would work. I don't know if Apple will ever get there, but it could check the person. You're signed to the same Apple account. Check the details of how my internet accounts are set up on my Mac. Check how they're set up on the phone. Are all the same accounts activated? Like this one's asking for re-authentication on the Mac. There's your problem. Your phone could say, "Hey, I checked into this for you, and it looks like you need to re-authenticate on your Mac, your Gmail account, and then your calendar that'll fix your calendar syncing issues."
Right.
I know that sounds scary, but like if you open up your Mac, there's a notification there ready and waiting. Just click on it and type in your password. If you don't know your password, you can reset it as follows. I mean, it can do our jobs for us again, 80%. It's theoretical, it's not doing it. I'm also offering a lot of soft skills. I mean, I'm arguing against myself now because I said earlier, like, whoa, they're gonna put me out of business in 2 years. I don't think that's going to happen because I think that we offer more than just like answers,
Sure.
and they don't want to ask the lady in the phone. They don't want to ask AI to do that. They don't trust that they're going to know how to say it, how to word it, how to follow the instructions. So that's why they have us. But the fact is, like, it could do a much better job. And I do think that over time, I don't know if it's 2 years, but I mean, on a long enough time scale, like all that low hanging fruit is going to be handled by AI,
Mm-hmm.
if it's still around, if we're still around. So I mean, yeah, I'm looking at that as like a motivation to get better at the things that differentiate us from AI, and also like not expect that beyond 2 or 3 years that the revenue will be the same or that the sort of business model will be the same, because I do think that this is going to kind of undermine some of that over time.
Right. It's going to be impactful
Yeah,
long term. Yeah,
for
that's what
sure.
I'm seeing too.
So, Jerry, as we wrap up the public show, I wanted to give you an opportunity to guess here. I bought some new Apple gear. Do you have any guesses as to what I acquired? You probably won't get it. It's a trick
No, I
question.
probably won't get it. So you can't, the new display hasn't come out yet, so you don't have that.
No, don't have that. Yeah.
You had to get the new phone because you were
No, no. Good guess
no
though. Good guess
new
though.
Apple
No.
Gear. Okay.
Here, I'll give you a
So
hint.
oh wow. Okay. So
It's
he's
it's
holding up what looks like a black Magic Mouse.
That's exactly what it
Wow,
is.
Joe,
Yeah.
that's shocking. And oh, and a wireless extended keyboard
And the
too.
black magic keyboard with number pad. Yeah, I mean, this isn't exciting
Hmm.
stuff. That's why I said it
Wow.
was a trick question. But
I'm getting chills
yeah.
just thinking about it.
So
Pinch me, Joe. Pinch
the
me.
the new mouse, it glides real nice. I have to
Oh,
say,
that's
it
so
glides real
good.
nice. I was tired of using these secondhand mice that I had like left over from a client like
Yeah, janky mice.
gave it to me when I had the office, which, contrary to popular belief, the office was closed like 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, whatever it is. So, that's how old this stuff is. It's like it's
Mhm.
probably 6, 7, 8 years old, and I use it every single day. So I don't need a brand new mouse. The mouse was working. The weird thing about my keyboard, as I mentioned on a show, was that you turn it off and it doesn't turn off Like it turns off
Right.
later.
Yeah.
It's weird. If I turn it off, eventually like I'll get a message on screen that's like keyboard off, but it's like it could be literally hours later. So there's something weird about that to me. Not a big problem, but
Yeah, but I think the common knowledge on that is you just want to walk away from it. You don't even want to power it off.
oh, I usually
Unle-
don't. I mean, if I'm going to clean it or something and I want it to be off, so I'm
Oh, I
not like,
see. Yeah.
touching keys. I mean, random stuff
Mhm.
like that. Or if I'm going to travel with it, like I would bring the little one with me potentially, turn it off first, right? Well, it doesn't turn off when you turn it off. So it's just a little weird indicator that maybe there's going to be more of a hardware issue down the road. But
And if you do
the
travel with it, you could use it as an ice scraper too
yeah,
on those chilly
actually,
mornings.
it's a good point. Yeah.
Mm.
So those were, what I really wanted was just a fresh set of the, input devices because I do rely on them every day. Charged by USB-C, so that's more convenient. So a couple of
Hmm.
little minor benefits there. Um, and I got annoyed with the windows flying away. Okay, so does this happen to you as you're
Hmm.
navigating your system and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it zooms in on a web page you had no intention of zooming in, and you're like, okay, zoom out, fine, cool, back to normal. It just happens to me like multiple times a day. I'm just twitchy, I guess. I don't know. The way I mouse, I'm like, I must be like a little, twitchy on the mouse or something. And then the other one was mission control. All the
Hmm.
windows zoom
Yep.
out. Okay, I know what these features are. I know how to do it manually, I guess. Like, well, I mean, now I do. I looked it up. So you double tap with two fingers on the top of the surface of the Magic Mouse and you get the mission control. You double tap with one finger and it zooms. Those are useful when you intentionally trigger them, but when they're happening multiple times per day unintentionally, I
Hmm.
thought maybe my mouse, this was another reason I thought, let me replace this mouse. It's probably just getting a little slow and tired. The battery was like weaker and stuff, whatever. It would sometimes die unexpectedly. Anyway, I thought maybe that was one of the symptoms. Well, it happened almost immediately after starting with the new mouse. So clearly it wasn't a hardware issue. So I just turned those off.
Hmm.
I turned off, the two mouse gestures, double tap with one finger to zoom. They call it smart zoom, and then double tap with two fingers for mission control. Um, I
How
don't
about the
think I'm going
hot
to miss.
corners? Did you disable
I
the hot
still
corners?
no. I use hot corners like, for example, to sleep my screen. I've
Hmm.
mentioned this on a past show. I don't like having a hot corner that does that because I'm going to trigger it
Yeah,
accidentally
it's annoying.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to do that. Like if I'm at a coffee shop, I don't want to close the lid necessarily. I just want to close like blank the screen,
Hmm.
get up, use the restroom, come back, whatever. And so I have the hot corner set to require the option key. So that's a pro tip, that you can set your hot corners to require a modifier key. So
Hmm.
when I press option and I fling the mouse to the lower left, my screen goes blank, but only if I'm holding option. So that totally
Hmm.
solved that issue for me. Um,
Nice.
yeah, the mouse one, I thought that those features were nice in theory to be able to zoom with the double tap, like in the Maps app and things like that, where Apple uses their own little native way of zooming and stuff.
Hmm.
So, I like that I could do it there, but I was triggering it too often. So I just turned it off and I think I'll be happier with that. Other than that, it's been a little hard to get used to the layout of the keys. Like it's just, with the wing on the right side there with the
Right.
number pad,
Right.
it's a little different. Minor stuff. I am looking forward to setting up maybe some macros or shortcuts really for the extra function keys that come on this big old keyboard. I'm going to try to, set it up so I can control my lights through HomeKit or, play music or something like that
So
through
we're going to
function
start
key.
get a subscription to the macro
Oh,
keyboard app,
yeah,
the one
what is that
everybody
called?
uses.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'll try to do it natively. Like if
Okay.
the shortcuts app and then you can map keys to run the
Yeah.
shortcuts, I assume. Like so I'm gonna play with that. But yeah, so there's my new hardware. Not exciting. But speaking
Hmm.
of new hardware, one more quick thing to talk about is the UniFi Cloud Gateway Industrial. Okay, UCG Industrial Cloud Gateway
Hmm.
Industrial. It came out. We probably all got the email. It looks pretty cool. A couple of things I wanted to point out besides that it looks cool, because that's literally one of the reasons that I think people are going to buy this thing. The other thing that I thought was very interesting was that it includes high power PoE plus plus plus. So that's for you, Jerry.
Yeah.
So what does plus 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 mean? PoE plus plus plus. 90 watts. It can supply 90 watts of power. So they actually say that you can power multiple LEO satellite terminals and downstream switches. So what's an LEO satellite terminal? Low Earth orbit. So this is things like Starlink, and then
Mm-hmm.
Amazon has, is it called Amazon Leo or something like that? But it's, these are the two biggest, I guess,
Big players. Yeah.
yeah, satellite internet providers. So I've played with Starlink. The Starlink Mini is a great product, by the way. It's really fantastic. I mean, you throw it on your dashboard of your car, and like you've got internet. It's pretty wild how it works. I mean, it's not
Yeah. I'm not sure
perfect
what that
in that
is.
way.
And maybe
So
for me
this
and the
yeah,
uninitiated, you could.
Starlink Mini is a very small Starlink dish. It has Wi-Fi, like a Wi-Fi router built into the dish. So unlike the first gen, second gen, or whatever, those big old dishy ones they call them, I guess, where they're articulating. So like you
Mm-hmm.
mount it somewhere on a roof and it will point to the best satellite and it'll move to as the satellite goes by. It gets the best bandwidth and latency and all that. Great product, but it's big. It's hefty. It also has things like snow melt, features and things like that. So that's an option. Starlink Mini came out maybe a year ago. I think it's on the order of like $350 or so. So it's less expensive. Instead of having the dish and then a separate, a proprietary cable that goes to a router that plugs into AC,
Mm-hmm.
you just plug this dish in and it's got the router built in. So that's why it's kind of this magical product. Not only that, but it can be powered by USB-C, but it has to, you have to use like, I think it's 100-watt output. So only
So,
certain power adapters can do it.
so how would you
Um,
power this in your car?
yeah, so well, in the car we have AC, we have an inverter and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's how we use the
You talking
van.
about the van? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in a car, you can get a 12-volt,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
cigarette adapter
Converter.
thing to
Sure.
USB-C. You need a bigger
But
one than this,
but
but
that wouldn't be enough
100-watt
power
output. Well, they make them. They make ones with 100-watt output.
from from I'm dating
Yeah,
myself, from a cigarette lighter
yeah,
input.
yeah. 12
You
volt.
can
Yep,
get it.
cigarette lighter. Yep.
You can get 100-watt out.
Probably. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure about
All
that. I'm
right. All
pretty sure
right.
I have
What do
one.
I
Yeah.
know? So
And
you
they
told
have
us
these.
about your keyboard and mouse,
Yeah.
and you have this other expensive thing that you never mentioned. You never told
Oh, the
me.
Starlink dish. The Starlink
Yeah.
dish is great. Here's another way you can power it. So this is the Anker.
Look at
Um,
him.
what is the model here? It's a 165-watt little battery pack.
He's shilling products on
And
the show
yeah,
now, guys.
I travel with this one. It's the Anker power bank. Um, yeah, I don't know which model it is, but it's a little one that does 165-watt output. So it's got a cable that doubles as like a little carrying cable.
Hmm.
So it's got this little funny little thing that turns into USB cable. And then it's got this USB cable that you can pull out of it. So it's
Yeah,
got
I've
this
seen
like,
those. Yeah.
isn't that
Yeah.
neat? And then it's got a port. It's got both USB-A and USB-C. So I have actually tested this, and this will do 100 watts output, and you can power the Starlink dish from this. So
And
totally
you could,
portable.
you get into a
Yeah,
kind of a sticky situation, you could use it as a weapon,
yeah,
like
exactly.
a
It's a brick.
nunchuck kind of thing,
Yeah,
like swing it
yeah,
around and
totally.
on
Yeah.
the
But so
so
that's so what I
yeah,
thought
so
was
what's
interesting about
this?
the
All
yeah
right,
the
I
UCG
need to know.
Industrial will
Okay, well, hold
power
on.
the Starlink dish. Go ahead. What?
Yeah, that is very cool. But now, how you're gonna need extra power to put the industrial in your car too.
Well, I'm
So
not. Yeah, I mean, hey, don't give me any ideas, right? But you believe me, I would love to put one of those in my car. But yeah, that has a AC like to DC adapter or whatever brick thing, and you plug it in. But what I thought was a couple. So that was one thing that was pretty cool. That it has high power PoE plus, and it will specifically power the Starlink. So the Starlink Mini again can be powered by USB-C or like a PoE over Ethernet,
mhm.
a PoE connector. And so this will just power that directly. So I'm a big fan of integrating things where I could power cycle the Starlink by cycling PoE on that port using the UCG Industrial, right? It's all
Yeah,
just like one
yeah,
device. And so the other thing about it is that it doesn't have it does fanless cooling. So not only is it cool, but it's supposed to stay cool because it doesn't need a fan, and so it's good in like in industrial, like in a warehouse or somewhere that has like a dust, it's dusty or maybe a little warmer, that kind of thing.
Right. And what is the price on that? I got the announcement, but I didn't check to see what
I
the
didn't even look it up. I'm just throwing this out there for people to kind of know that that's that's an interesting aspect of it.
Mhm.
10 gigabit gateway performance, integrated dual band Wi-Fi 7, which I thought was also interesting.
Mhm.
Flexible external antenna support. So these are some of the bullet points there. The other thing about it is it has 2 remote SIM slots. So it actually has 2 SIM slots built into this UCG Industrial, and they don't work on their own, but they can act as a remote, quote unquote, remote SIM slot for the UniFi 5G outdoor. So you and I were talking about
Mhm.
this recently, the 5G Max, whatever I think is what it's called, and then there's
Yep.
the outdoor version. So I've been testing the regular one, and there's this outdoor one. And with the outdoor one, you would obviously mount that device outdoors so that it has the antennas built in and it's on a post out there, whatever, running PoE down to your UCG Industrial. And the UCG Industrial is where you can actually have the SIM slots so that you don't need to climb up on a pole to,
Yeah, that's
replace the
fantastic.
SIM card. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really terrific. Wow.
Yeah. So just something to be aware of out there for those kind of specialty installations, or where somebody just likes to, the look of this like cool black, with the fins for cooling. It looks like a cool product. So there you go.
And I looked at it again. I looked at it quickly. It can be rack mountable. Yes,
Yeah, I mean they make an adapter of some sort to like
I
mount
see.
it. Yeah, to
But it
rack mount
doesn't
it,
come with
exactly.
it.
That I don't know. It might. It might.
Yeah.
They've been including a lot of these accessories with some of
Okay.
these products I've seen. Couple last things here as we wrap up the public show. Just for the listeners out there, ACES 2026 is coming up. I've been looking into it again. They have a special employee track this time around. So last year I brought Tim, my full-time employee, to ACES. He had a great time meeting a lot of people in the community that you and I have met over the years, Jerry,
Mhm.
and just spending time like networking in that sense, in the soft skills kind of sense, hanging out with people and talking shop and that kind of thing. There wasn't a special employee track at the time, but there were certain things that we worked on together, like as employer employee, like certain exercises around marketing and stuff like that. So he got a lot of value also out of the ACES side of things, the actual sessions.
Mhm.
And this time around, Justin made this announcement that they're doing a special employee only track. So bring your employee, and they have a separate session, like a separate series really, on day one in their own room, and then we all come together on day two back for the same sessions there. This was a reminder to me. I forgot that we had this, but we have a discount code that we can offer people. So sign up for ACES and use discount code CCP for 10% off. Just a public
Amazing.
service announcement for that. Yep.
Terrific.
And then last thing with is I will end on, and I should have known this. So Jerry, you probably know this, and I feel like I really should have known this, but I downloaded a video, an MP4, from a musician that I follow. It was a live concert, and it was like, I didn't know what format it would come in. You could rent it or buy it.
Mhm.
For a few bucks more, you buy it. So I bought it, and there's a download link, and it's an MP4 file. Cool, no DRM or anything like that. Okay, this should be easy. So that I'm like, oh, I want to watch this on my Apple TV, So like, how do I get it over there? And I'm like, man, this takes me back. Like like all the content I
Sure.
watch on the Apple TV is like either in Netflix or Hulu or one of the built-in streaming apps.
Right.
Or in your case, I know you've used Plex. Like you will
Yeah, I
already
would
have like
put
a
it on my
Plex app,
Plex
right?
server. Yeah.
See, I probably should have something like that set up just for this kind of thing, because I thought, well, I don't have any of that. What am I going to do? So I thought, well, this used to be in iTunes. Where do I go for this now? So I looked into, what am I looking for here? Home sharing. Okay, so that's in the sharing preferences and system
Mhm.
settings, right? So in the sharing settings, and I couldn't figure it out. I basically just couldn't figure it out, And so I want to sit down and watch this and whatever. I'm
Maybe
ready to
Tim
go. I'm
could
not.
figure it out.
Yeah, I should ask him. So then I thought, well, let me AirPlay from my Mac. So I just open it up in QuickTime, just double
Yeah.
click, it opens in QuickTime, AirPlay from that QuickTime window to my Apple
Sure.
TV. Cool. All right, I could leave my laptop open and go sit on the couch. I'm ready to go. So it plays, it's great, no audio sync issues. I'm loving it, right? And then all of a sudden audio cuts out like 10 minutes in, and it keeps playing, but now audio drops. So I go back to my computer, go to sleep. What am I doing? So I'm trying to work around that. Nope, it's just just happened every single time. I'd start it again,
Wow.
10 minutes in, audio would drop out. So the bottom line is I did not figure out a good solution to this. So I felt like, I don't know the first thing about computers because this was like very, it just like undermined my confidence in technology. But I also realized like this question has not come up in about 100 years. Like we used to have clients, this was the way
Right.
you would do these things, play your home movie on your TV, whatever. And you
Sure.
needed to know about home sharing. I think I have one client who's still using it. And last time he asked a question about it, he followed up 20 minutes later and said, I rebooted stuff and it's working again. So it's
Hmm.
like, if it works, it works, but I could not make it work. So
I seem to remember there's an app called Infuse,
okay.
Infuse,
Okay.
and it's sold. I don't know whether you can buy from the Mac and you get the, uh, uh, but it's also an app you can download on
Infuse.
your Apple TV, and I believe you could put stuff in the Infuse folder, and your Apple TV will talk to it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I felt like spending probably another 10 minutes before, before I just dove in and started watching, I,
Mhm.
I probably would have found some other workaround like that. I just couldn't
Right.
believe that it was so complicated. Like AirPlay is supposed to work, so as like a
Hmm.
worst case scenario, I should be able to just do that. Or again, I thought if I tried, loading it into my TV app and then like looking for it through the Apple TV, and it just wasn't there. And
Right.
I think part of it might be I have one Apple account for media and I have a different Apple account for
Oh, that would do it. Yeah.
iCloud. And so which one, anyway, it's probably something like that. But yep. See, I mean, it doesn't happen. It happens to the best of us. Let's put it that way. So
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
didn't find a good solution to that. Maybe
Yeah,
next
Tim
time.
could probably figure this out.
Could hire him next time. All right. Well, thanks, Jerry. This is a fun show, and
Fun show.
yeah, look forward to hearing the feedback and find out more at commandcontrolpower.com and click on support if you want to pledge on Patreon to listen to some more great content. One episode of which we'll be recording right now. Thanks everybody for listening to Command Control Power.